And now we let Mr. Ignasi Grau present the report. And for those of you who have not had any handouts, there are handouts in both Swedish and English, so you can follow and keep afterwards what has been presented here today. You can just raise your hand and then Hans or someone else will help you.
Hello everyone, thanks again for inviting us today here. It's a huge honor to be today with you, as Claire have said. And well, why we did the Freedom of Education Index, you might be wondering. People and politicians all around the world, like they are having this kind of the same discussions you are having in Sweden. And they keep referencing what is happening in other countries. And this is creating a huge confusion because there is no tool like the one we have made to address this problem. So the main objective we have done that is to address the reference to other countries when we talk about freedom of education. So my challenge now is in the following 10 minutes summarize this document. Okay. And try to show you a little bit how is the situation of freedom of education in the world. So just quickly about the data of the research. Our research is about 136 countries, 94% of the worldwide population, and we have used mostly official data. That includes UNESCO, World Bank, European Union database, United Nations, and many field survey work. Okay, let's talk about the methodology. We have used 4 indicators to assess the situation of freedom of education in the world. The first indicator is there a legal possibility to create and manage non-governmental schools? And this indicator includes 3 sub-indicators: the legal recognition, the constitutional recognition, and homeschooling. Homeschooling is just a little part of that, but it's part of it. The second indicator is, does public funding for non-governmental schools exist? And if yes, what costs are subsidized by the state? There is 5 categories here: no funding at all, low funding or bad defined, teachers of the salaries of the teachers, salaries of the teachers plus operating costs, and teachers of the salaries plus operating costs plus investment costs. Then the third indicator is the net enrollment rate. This is really important because, as we have seen before, freedom of education is part of right to education, and we cannot separate these things, neither in this indicator. And the last indicator is enrollment rate in non-governmental schools as percentage of total. Why we have done this indicator? Because there is some countries that have like a perfect legal system, but then there is the weight of these schools is low, so it wouldn't be fair to award them on this indicator. Here you have the formula. I can spend 5 minutes talking about that, but it's really boring, so I'm just going to skip that. And let's talk about the results, that I think is the most interesting part of our research. Well, here you have the regions, the educational regions of UNESCO. And what we see here is like the area of the world that there is more freedom of education is Europe and North America, followed closely by Asia and the Pacific, and Latin America and the Caribbean. And the region right now that there is less freedom of education are the Arab states. Here we have the top 10 of freedom of education in the world. So the first 3 countries, Ireland, Netherlands, and Belgium, they are the champions by far of freedom of education, followed by Malta, Denmark, the UK, Chile, Finland, Slovakia, and Spain. As you see, Sweden and Norway are kind of far away from them, and it's something to consider. And one important point here is like 6 out of these 10 countries are from Northern Europe. Okay, one interesting finding we have done as well. There is only, in our research, there is only 3 countries that ban freedom of education: Cuba, Gambia, and Libya. And there is another one that is not part of our research, but we have realized that it's North Korea. As you can see, these 4 countries are not good friends of democracies, and it's good to see like freedom of education, it plays an important role for democracies and the other way around. One of the first things dictatorships try to ban, it's freedom of education. Also, like 84 out of 136 countries recognize in its constitution freedom of education using different formulas. And the amount of countries that found non-governmental schools have increased in an 8% since 2002. And this is really important because we realize like the international community, somehow they have an awareness and they know about the importance of freedom to education. This is the world funding of non-governmental schools. And here in Sweden and in many places we are hearing we are the only country that is funding non-governmental schools, or we're fundamenting schools that are not public. Well, almost 75% of the countries, at least, they have some kind of funding for non-governmental school. So it's a mainstream policy almost all around the world. And like 25% of the countries of the world, almost 30, at least they fund the teachers, the salaries of the teachers. So, you know, it's kind of a common policy around the world. There is nothing weird on doing that. The European fundings we have seen, this is the results of the European Union. And, well, it's really little, but in the first column is 2002, the second is 2015. And one thing, like orange, is at least they fund teachers of the salaries. And as we see, there has been an increase of public funding for non-governmental schools. And almost 90% of countries in Europe, they provide some kind of funding for non-governmental schools, and at least 80% they fund at least the salaries of the teachers. These are the results of the European Union, the position. Clearly, I made a mistake when I decided the size of the fonts, but well, we can see like, okay, most of the countries of the European Union are above the worldwide mean, besides 4. Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Croatia. And as we see again here, like Italy, Netherlands, and Belgium are in the top 3. And Sweden, it's below the European mean. Here is Sweden. So Sweden still can do much for freedom of education compared to the rest of Europe. So most of the countries in the top of the classification are from the regions Western Europe and North America. That's the thing we have seen clear. Although there is some exceptions. Chile, South Korea, Israel, and Peru are countries out of this region that are doing great. And it's interesting to have like countries like Chile and South Korea here because these are countries that are also having really good results in terms of quality. So freedom of education have been a good tool for them to improve their quality of education. And also the most remarkable evolutions are in Latin America since 2002. We can highlight Ecuador, Guatemala, and Peru. Okay, this is freedom of education in relation to other liberties indicators. We have done an equivalence of liberties indicators. In order to compare them, we have recalculated their value. So the maximum punctuation is 100 and the 0 words. And also we have done the same for the position of countries. So the best countries will be placed in position 100 and the worst in position 0. And what we see here, when we see like Sweden, is like freedom of education among other liberties is less recognized. And we can see the same when we're talking about Scandinavian countries. And when I'm talking about the Scandinavian countries, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm talking about Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. And that's something to reflect deeply about the divorce between public liberties in the public arena, especially in the domain of education. These are some trends we have identified doing this research. So basically, Southern Europe, there has been always this huge debate on freedom of education, especially to the hodgepodge between non-governmental schools and Catholic schools. And while in Northern Europe, usually there haven't been this debate. This is something new, especially in Sweden. We have identified this kind of debate you are starting to have in Sweden is something new. And it's something also to underline. Just my last slide. There has been really good practices in Europe these last years, and I just want to highlight 2. One has been in England. They have developed these policies of academies and free schools that have allowed many parents to improve their rights, their parental rights to choose the school they want for their kids. And in Spain, they have done this really good initiative that is free grant of public land for non-governmental schools that I can go deeply later in the Q&A. So I don't have time for that. I can go later to explain the rest of the slides. Anyway, I hear you have a summary. Just one thing before I finish. Again, I can go again to these things in the Q&A, but if you are interested in this report, or if you want to know more information about that, feel free to go to our website. There is plenty of information concerning that, and please don't hesitate to contact me, and I will provide anything you need. Thank you so much.